The Ghost of Mr. Rossi? A true story experienced by me. Mrs. Carmela Rossi owned a beautiful white brick single-story waterfront home in the exclusive bayfront community of Delman's Point on the Jersey Shore. My brother Joe and I had an established clientele for our family painting business in this upscale neighborhood of mostly second homes belonging to affluent business people and prosperous professionals from the northern New Jersey suburbs and New York City. It was a hot and muggy week when Mrs. Rossi called us to freshen up the exterior windows of her vacation home with a coat of white paint. She got our phone number from a neighbor who was a steady customer. Carmela Rossi was a soft-spoken, well-dressed, perfectly groomed older woman of means that kept her property in tip-top condition with constant maintenance. "As you can see, I'm quite particular about this place," she informed my brother and I proudly. "This house was my late husband's pride and joy," she told us with an air of resignation and sadness. "My husband built this place himself with all of the best materials. He was in the building supply business in West Orange, you know," she told us. "This was our weekend place and our eventual planned retirement home, but he passed away suddenly from a massive heart attack the year before he was supposed to pack it in," Mrs. Rossi revealed. "Well, it's obviously a very well-built home," my brother commented. "Oh yeah, only the best for my husband. He was so attached to his house. I mean, he really loved it down here. He would spend the entire weekend trimming the bushes, cleaning the grounds, washing the windows. He was very fussy about first impressions and curb appeal," the fashionably attired woman said seriously. I nodded politely. "Well, you fellas do what you have to do. The doors are unlocked, and access the windows as you see fit. I'll give you the garage door opener before I leave today. I'm heading back up north later this afternoon before rush hour traffic. I'll be back on Friday. Please lock all the windows and doors when you leave. Oh yeah, and be sure to turn off the water main in the garage every afternoon before you go home. My husband was very specific about that precaution, and I kept on religiously doing it because it's better to be safe than sorry," she told us. "Sal was very fussy about everything with this house. I still do things his way out of respect and honor of his memory. May he rest in peace. I can swear I still feel his presence here sometimes. I know it sounds crazy. Anyway." Mrs. Rossi smiled, waved her hand, then turned and headed for the sliding glass door that led into the sprawling house. At the end of our shift that hot summer's day, Joe checked around the outside of the house for any of our equipment before he went to the truck, while I went inside the house to shut and lock the windows. I washed my hands at the kitchen sink before we hit the road. I locked all the doors, all the lights were off, and I exited through the garage where I shut the water main as instructed. I exited the neat and spacious two-car garage. "Lock her up," I said to my brother Joe, who was already in our idling van, as he shut the double door with the remote control. Another day, another dollar, as they say. We arrived back for work at 7:30 a.m. the following morning to pick up where we'd left off yesterday. My brother opened the garage door with the remote. I got out of the van together with Joe, and we opened the rear door, and we each grabbed a few drop cloths to set up under windows on the shady side of the house. We entered the unlocked gate, took a few steps towards the guest room window, where I decided to start painting that morning. "The shower is all wet," Joe said with surprise. "Who the hell would take a shower in Mrs. Rossi's yard?" I questioned with puzzlement. Joe opened the wooden door to the outside shower. "Someone was here this morning, I guess." "Who was here? A local family member?" I questioned. "They came here to shower?" "Look, there's no footprints," Joe observed. "And the water is off," Joe added. "Who knows? There's got to be a logical explanation," I responded, as I set up my drop cloths under the windows and headed back to the van to get a ladder, while my brother grabbed the paint and the equipment basket to set up under the shade of a leafy tree nearby. I passed by the front of the house and stepped to the front double doors, noting that they seemed a bit ajar. "The front door is unlocked," I said with a bit of early morning alarm. Who left it open? Joe quickly made his way towards me. Somebody was here this morning, probably a relative that has access, Joe said. We entered the house to unlock the windows. Yeah, and whoever was here left the radio on too, Joe noted. It's the easy listening station, so it wasn't teenagers or college kids, I said half-jokingly as I shut the radio off in Mrs. Rossi's living room, which was decorated with dated furnishings which were a cross between urban Gothic and mid-century modern. Who knows, Joe said as he headed across the house to unlock windows. I walked to the guest room near the shower side of the house and noticed the ceiling light was on. What the hell? Hey Joe, check this out, I shouted. Joe joined me in the guest room. Maybe there's a short or something, he said. I checked every room before we left yesterday, and there were no lights on. Someone was here, I stated as a matter of fact. Yeah, maybe it's Mr. Rossi, Joe said seriously. She said he was very attached to the place, and she could feel his presence. I think I feel his presence too, my brother admitted calmly. Something's very weird going on here, I said. First a shower, with the water main off, no footprints. The front door was open after I locked it last night. The radio was on easy listening, and now someone turned on the freaking light. My brother looked around and said, It's Mr. Rossi. What else could it be? He loved it here, and maybe he never left. Oh man, that's nuts, I replied. The ghost of Mr. Rossi. Why not? Joe answered. I believe in that stuff. There are hauntings and paranormal occurrences all over, all the time. This is one of them. The old man was very attached to this house, and he really never left, Joe said confidently. Oh man, I said with a sigh. Nothing's damaged. No forced entry. Nothing missing. I'm not mentioning anything to her, that's for sure. I don't want to worry her or anything, I said to my brother. It's the ghost of Mr. Rossi, Joe repeated. That's it. I'm convinced, he said with a straight face. To this day, whenever I recount the very unusual events that we experienced at the beautiful ranch-style house on Delman's Point, my brother Joe immediately says, Oh yeah, the ghost of Mr. Rossi.